What is up, everyone? Chris Manning here with my co-host Evan Dammarell. On today's episode of Locked On Cavs, we are going to get into the Cavs' wins over the Spurs and the Thunder from the weekend that put the Cavs at 5-1 on the road trip before we look ahead to Monday night's Cavs-Nets game in Cleveland. That's the MLK Showcase game, so it is an afternoon game, a 3 p.m. tip, but we'll have a little more on that right here after we get into it.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Before we get into today's show, a little bit of housekeeping. First, Evan and I want to thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen every single day. Remember, we are free and available on all platforms. That, as you know, includes YouTube, where Evan and I are very close to 1,000 subscribers. Help us get there today. We are 23 away. That's 32, so let's do 23. And all you got to do is go down to your show notes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your podcast platform of choice. Click the link that says Locked On Cavs YouTube and go subscribe right now. Do us a solid. Help us get to that very important 1,000 subscriber benchmark. Secondly, just as a heads up, this is Transparency Corner. Wednesday, I will be on the road. I will be recording. Evan and I will be recording after Cavs Bulls. I will just not be in my normal setup. So no mic, recording through my AirPods. It's not going to sound as good. Not as fun of a background either. It's going to be like a hotel room in the city I'm going to. It's not going to be as fun. Alas, you're gonna get a pod about Cavs Bulls on Wednesday. But Evan, what's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. Just enjoying the weekend. It's kind of like a winter wonderland in downtown Cleveland right now, so I'm enjoying myself. I'm gonna hate this weather tomorrow as I'm heading to Cavs Nets, which I'm excited. It's a 3:00 game, but I just think one gust of wind off Lake Erie and I'll be miserable. But yeah, it's gonna be sad. It's gonna feel a little different without you kind of just in Ohio with me. Like a part of my heart's leaving, and my heart is with Locked On Cavs, and you are part of Locked On Cavs. Is my long-winded take, but I'm good, man. How are you? How was your weekend?
Good. The snow is coming. It's really we're reporting from various parts of blustery Northeast Ohio, and it took till January to get some snow, but we're finally getting some snow.
Yeah, I have winners here from Game of Thrones stuck in my head because the final seasons were absolute doo-doo, but the soundtrack is straight flames.
I'm very excited to see. I always do enjoy the photos of the Cavs players getting on and off planes, and they just look miserable in the snow. And you can tell who like grew up with snow, and then who is like deeply offended by the fact that snow exists. I always get a kick out of that.
Well, I always think of how Andre Drummond is walking from Burke to Independence because of the trade, and he's like doing a "What's up, Cleveland? I'm happy to be here" thing, and I'm just like, that's all I think of. But it's certainly definitely a prerequisite, I feel, for most Cleveland teams. Like, you have to ask these kids when you're like going through the draft process, like, hey, you're gonna live here for a majority of your year. It gets really freaking cold in like November-ish. I mean, global warming's changed a lot of that, but it stays that way until like late April or so. Are you comfortable with that? Check Y for yes or N for no. And if they say no, it goes into the thought process and maybe talent trumps wanting to be here. But either way, yeah, man, go Bengals. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, shots Joe Burrow 7-4. But look, Cavs Spurs happened, and Evan, I gotta tell you, for me in this game, we're gonna go Cavs Spurs, then Cavs Thunder, and then Cavs Nets in terms of what to look for in that game. Cavs Spurs.
It was a fun game.
Is an interesting game to me because they won, and I think Darius Garland was incredible, and he's kind of like the big takeaway from the weekend. He was the star of the weekend, but it's just like one of those games where you watch it and you just like scream. This team is screaming out for like they really miss Ricky Rubio. They kind of, I think, even miss what Rondo could provide. Like the fact that like Lowry Markkanen had to pull a drive and then absolute monster slam out of nowhere seemingly late in this game to kind of help clinch this up was like very telling. But they got a win, important win. They kind of overcame kind of not the best performance. They looked tired, but they won. And Darius Garland, pretty freaking good.
Yeah, I don't think that's that hot of a take. I think it was definitely weird after the game to see people saying like Isaac Okoro was expendable because Lamar Stevens was playing well. But I absolutely agree. The Cavs do need, like, no disrespect to Brandon Goodwin, who was the second leading assist man behind Garland with 5 assists against San Antonio, but Yeah, he led the G League in terms of assists. I talked about it in an article for Right Down to Euclid of like maybe some options. I said Brandon Goodwin could be one, and I kind of think he fits a mold of what the Cavs looking for. And all like a little bit of like a diet, like a double diet Sexton vibe. But yeah, losing Rondo's tough. Spoiler, he is out Monday against Brooklyn as well. So I think this hamstring injury is tricky. It's going to be like a Koros where you just kind of have to wait and see when he's feeling right, and then he's going to need time to feel comfortable in his body again. And then I think this just sucks because Rondo is only a few games in with Cleveland. He doesn't have like the luxury of a bunch of practices or training camp a la Ricky Rubio, where they really have to cobble together this on-court chemistry in real time. And that's really tough. And I absolutely agree. They need another ball handler. If you are a subscriber to Right Down Euclid, a premium one, I wrote about this on Sundays, like just recap of last week. I know Dennis Schroeder is pretty available from Boston, and if the Cavs can find a way to get a player like that where they make like a legitimate upgrade at the backup point, because I think Rondo's good. I think more if he was slapping a Band-Aid on a pretty crappy situation because Rubio and Garland were out at the same time and it made sense. But I think you need to find someone who's a little younger, a little more reliable, and I just don't think it hurts to have extra ball handling and playmaking coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think certainly like that's a reasonable thing to maybe still consider in season. I still think with this team is looking for some version of like a bigger wing, just a little more size, like long term. But I think like
It's just
another
the
actual,
problem getting those is they are a pretty hot
yeah,
commodity in the
yeah,
league, but I don't think most teams are willing to give those up unless you're
no, yeah,
paying a serious price.
yeah, and we've talked about that enough. That's like a discussion for
Yeah,
another day. It's just like how they decide to fill that void is, I think, interesting to kind of continue monitoring. It's just like clearly, I think a need as we think about this, especially like when they go up
yeah.
against like teams that have good defense. I mean, Dejounte Murray is long and really good. I mean, Devin Vassell was long and very good. Like they didn't even have Derek White, who's another really really good
Dude,
defender.
this San Antonio team is so fun. Like they have so many fun like individual pieces. They just need some time to make it cohesive. But like DeJounte Murray was awesome.
I love Dejounte
But
Murray.
we should really like we'll lead this into the second segment as well. But like Darius Garland was like freaking amazing. Like just full stop. Like the Cavs were down at times where I'm thinking, okay, because I rewatched the film today because I took Friday and Saturday night's game off in real time. So I was rewatching the film today. I'm just like, okay, this Cavs look, just like you said, they look tired. They look like they're kind of going through the motions a little bit. Then Darius just like flipped a switch and just
Mhm.
started dragging this team to the finish line with him. Like he didn't care if they weren't going to be there with him. Like he was going to set like Jared Allen up. Like Jared Allen was the second best player on the floor for Cleveland that night against San Antonio. I mean, he got Evan Mobley going too. Evan Mobley had 15, 6, and 3. Yeah, it's going to be playmaking by committee for like the secondary playmaking and shot creation, but Darius is just really good. And like I think a lot of people are now going on the record that he should be an all-star. Like Donovan Mitchell said it, JB Bickerstaff said it last night after the win over Oklahoma City. Like this was kind of just like his coming out party these last two games. Like a lot of people are being put on notice, like, okay, this kid in Cleveland is the real freaking deal, and he's finally taking that leap. Like I talked about this again and Right Down the Euclid, like this is the leap that everyone expected from Darius. He's finally taking it and ascending to that point where everyone put those expectations on him prior to the start of the season. Like whether it was you, whether it was me, whether it was spoiler alert, like future guest this week, Jackson Frank. So like a lot of people are saying like Darius has the toolkit to be the lead guard, like a super guard and a superstar for this team. And he's finally showing it in this game against San Antonio, and he really showed it against Oklahoma City the following night.
Yeah, Oklahoma City was a bigger one. Just his final stat line against San Antonio: 37 minutes, 32 points, 8 assists against just 1 turnover, 4 of 8 from 3, 11 of 25 from the field overall, 6 of 6 from the line. The one thing that I think we should just note as a negative from that Spurs game is Cleveland really could have put this game away if they just hit some more free throws. They were 14 of 24 on free throws in this game. San Antonio, by comparison, was 10 of 13. The Spurs were also 15 of 34 from 3, and the Cavs were just 8 of 20. So a little bit of a math problem for there in terms of Cleveland kind of be able to put that one away, but still a good win. Certainly, again, the San Antonio team that got back some important players, but the Cavs went on the road and won, and they did the same thing again the second night in very different manner. So we'll talk about Cavs Thunder after the break. First, though, going to tell everyone about our friends at Shopify. Shopify, Evan, is this great platform that can help businesses grow their business because it's an all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow businesses. Shopify even gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for those big businesses. So upstarts now, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Scaling your business is the journey of endless possibility, and Shopify can help power that possibility through its first from first sale to full scale, and it has already powered millions of businesses out there. Shopify allows you to reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and more. Gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting of conversion rates, profit margins, and beyond. This is possible, powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/lockedNBA, that is all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. That is available at shopify.com/lockedonnba. Right now, shopify.com/lockedonnba. Okay. Evan, Cavs Thunder was a little bit clunky. Actually, one more of the housekeeping note. I want to thank you, by the way, again, for making Locked On Cavs your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. It features nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts, including us two. Listen to Locked On Now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch it on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel. Evan, I think here's what I got to say about Cavs Thunder. Again, Cavs had to come back and win. Kind of looked like they were dead in the water for much of this game. You alluded to it in the first segment. Darius Garland, holy crap, he's really good.
Yeah, that's still, I just really, it's not a hot take, but I just think I made this joke in jest a little bit because JB Bickerstaff signed his massive extension, Kobe Altman signed his massive long-term extension with the team. And I joked Darius is going to be the next player, but you look at moments like this, and it's kind of been consistent throughout the season where the Cavs can just turn to Darius Garland and say, okay, we need you to go get a couple buckets. We need you to set up your teammates. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. But the fact that he almost had a 20-20 game is absolutely bonkers to me. And the fact that, again, this is they had to gut out a win over San Antonio, much like they gutted out a lot of wins on this road trip. But this Cavs team kind of looked tired. They kind of looked lost. They were getting pummeled in the first quarter. They ended up getting outscored 32-24. And then they had a very, very strong third quarter where they put up 37 points to Oklahoma City's 29. And let me just look at the stats here. Garland was responsible for 14 points and 8 assists in that one. So he was a key figure in Cleveland just kind of rebuilding momentum heading into the fourth quarter. And he took it right down to the stretch. And the Cavs, they hung tough. And I feel very good about my take in saying that he is Cleveland's most important player. You can make the case that Evan Mobley or Jared Allen is the most, or is just the best player in general, just in terms of the defensive impact or the overall potential. But without Garland, I don't think you see those two shine. And I just feel like you and I should be feeling good, man. We have a nice little cabana on Garland Island. Come one, come all. It's gonna get full pretty soon, but. I said the game against San Antonio, I watched the tail end of it. I watched bits and pieces of it. I'm like, this might be the best game of Darius Garland's young career. I would say, and then the triple double you can make a case for as well. But I would say this game against Oklahoma City was probably his most complete game. And the fact that he only shot 1 of 7 from 3 is certainly surprising, but he was so impactful in so many ways. I want to pull up the stat from it as you talk, but he was just insane, absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, so Darius Garland, career high 18 assists. This is I believe the most assists in a game that anyone has had aside from LeBron James in a long time. It's a long time. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, he created, assisted, or scored 65 points in 36 minutes for the Cavs that night. That's insane.
It's bonkers. And this was a night where again, I felt like Evan, the Cavs looked lethargic. I think JB actually deserves credit for extending the rotation at least a little bit. Darius still played 37 minutes, which is a lot. That's still a lot of minutes, but he kind of forced his hand by how well he's playing in the second half. And the fact that he can kind of carry the team in that way, despite getting 1 of 7 from 3, this wasn't a night where his shot making was kind of at the level we've seen it at for stretches this year, but he was 11-20 from the field. So that means he was 10 of 13 on 2-point field goals, 4 of 4 from line. Really, really efficient on those non-3-point shots. Has 18 assists against just 2 turnovers. The 2 turnovers part of this is almost to me more impressive than the 18 assists because he has the ball in his hands freaking the whole game, and he's being so good at taking care of it. Evan, the only other player on the Cavs team that had more than 1 assist in this game was Brandon Goodman, who had 4 assists in 11 minutes. Darius was the conductor of everything in this game, and that's crazy that he was able to do this. If you're him and you're the Cavs and you're making a pitch for this guy is an all-star, this is I think you said it exactly right. This is the game that you look at that it's he did all of this for us, dragged us to a win that we probably had no business getting, like maybe make this dude an all-star because look at what he just did. And he is just having an insane year and really leveling up in an impressive way, continuing to do so.
Yeah, no, that's what the most impressive thing is. Because like I said, this was kind of the expectation for Darius coming into this season where you're saying, okay, again, like,
Evan, I think I'm at the point where I want to say he's exceeded expectations for me. Like I thought he was going to level up. Some of the stuff that I think we've seen him do, and some of
in
it
these last 2
as
games, this has exceeded my
yeah,
expectations. But like
but
what we're starting to see, like him snowballing like this, like I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
I kind of expected this.
it's just the full body of work to me that is like I don't like I think it is very clear to me as we've gone on, and like this is partially due to the Sexton injury and the Rubio injury, which are unfortunate. And I think if like you were to ask the Cavs, like, could we take those back and have a different year? I think they would probably like to just have those guys because this team
Yeah.
certainly needs more bodies. But I
We're
think you
definitely not Cleveland radio shock jockey saying it was a blessing in disguise Colin Sexton got hurt.
whatever. But like I think you look at this and you say, okay, Darius Garland has had to assume so much, and he's responded about as well as you possibly could ask for. And like I think, like I think like this is a guy that deserves all-star consideration. I think like however you define your criteria for most improved player, like I think he deserves to be in that consideration as well.
Yep.
Like this is a guy that is just leveled up and is assuming so much of a responsibility for this team that like I don't know if we could have expected him to handle that responsibility as well as he has. And I think like just being on the road, end of a road trip, like I could be putting too much weight into this. I'm willing to like say that I maybe am, but you look at him going into 2 road environments, having a little bit of a back issue, just like in the middle of the grind of this NBA season. And for Darius Garland to put up these 2 performances back to back and to cap it off by just kind of having like the third quarter, it was like 17 and 14 in the third to kind of get this team like some juice that it needed to come back and beat a Thunder team that looked like they were just going to kind of pull
I mean,
away. That's
he had the
crazy.
key assist with 11 seconds to go by finding Lauri Markkanen to get him that 3-pointer to just stretch the lead to 106, 102. Like
Yeah,
it was neck and neck until the closing moments of this game, and Darius just found the right read and put it away.
Yeah, and it felt like watching this game, like it felt dead in the first half. Like it felt sort
Yep.
of like
It was
cooked in the
flat.
water. Like
I mean, like it looked like a team that very much was on a very long road trip and ready to come home because Disney on Ice took over the arena for the last week.
yeah, like and they get this brutal West Coast road trip, and you look tired, and like the team is tired, and he's playing 37 minutes, and like again, I think fewer minutes for him and for Mobley and for Allen, it would be a good
Mobley
thing.
played 3 in this one,
It's
so
low for him. He played 39 the night before, so
yeah. So
yeah, a lot of minutes,
your
but
Kevin
like
Love minute watching is he had 16 against San Antonio
yeah,
and
that's correct. Like that's correct. But
21 against Oklahoma City. That's the sweet spot for Kevin Love, I think.
yeah, but I think we gotta just want Darius
But I
just like
think,
in a
well,
nice
part of
breath.
the issue is too, though, is JB. This was his biggest downfall in Houston and Memphis. Is he leans on his guys, but it's also out of necessity right now. Like the Cavs don't really, like you stressed in the first segment, don't really have like backup point play to let Darius rest. Like the Cavs
They
just
don't
kind of have to lean on him and
they
just
don't have
ride
depth.
this out.
They don't have depth. Period.
They have a lot of big men.
Here's the thing. They have guys that are like theoretically like playable. And I think like Dean Wade probably deserves like some more run than he's gotten, but like it's hard to play
I mean,
like
he got
another
0
big.
against
Yeah.
Oklahoma
Yeah,
or
but it's like
San Antonio.
it's harder to play like another big. Like Windler has played, I think, shown enough lately where I'm kind of curious to see like how that might work. But he 17 minutes for him is like a good. I think I would like to see just that kind of as far as maintenance goes, especially like Lamar Stevens is questionable for Monday's game. Like maybe Dylan should just get some more run just to kind of
Well,
extend
that's
this
why he
rotation a
got
little bit.
more run against
Yeah, because
Oklahoma City, I gather, because I think Lamar hurt his knee
Yep.
against Oklahoma City. So, like,
Yeah.
that's why Dylan got more burn. And he, again, played hard. Like, he doesn't have to he does a lot of the small things that you just kind of don't notice on the box score. Like, you have to watch him on the floor. Like, he just played hard. He plays hard every time he's out there. He's not getting good exercise like he used to for the Cavs. Like, he's playing meaningful basketball.
I
like,
mean,
sure, he's not, like, popping up the stat sheet, but
we need to like actually see it over like the long stretch. But like I
oh, for
would just
sure.
yeah.
But it's like a
I-
pleasant surprise to see him do something of value out there.
Yeah, let's just see if it's the scenes. But go compare like I would just if people want like a point of comparison, go look at like what like Memphis's situation looks like because like they're just a much deeper team. Like someone like D'Anthony Melton is like being squeezed out of their rotation, and like that guy would be playing like 25 minutes. I was like that's a good 2 NBA player, and he's playing 11 minutes a night. Cavs
Cavs
just like
should go get him if they can.
yeah, I don't know how like if that's like the way they identify it or whatever. If like there's someone else who'd want to go, but like like some of these other teams have actual depth, and the Cavs just like clearly don't have depth that JB feels is good enough. And I think that's why you see
Well,
these minute
I
totals.
just think it's unfortunate because, like you said, losing not Darius, Ricky and Colin. Colin, like the very beginning of the season, Ricky not too long ago, like that really punches, like just punctures a hole in what the Cavs are trying to do rotation wise. Like those are two key rotation pieces that you're down. So then Lamar Stevens has played really well, but like you have to lean on him a hell of a lot more. Like the Rondo acquisition, you wanted to work, but he's been out with a hamstring injury, and those are tricky. So, like right now, your depth chart is Garland, Stevens, Marketing, Mobley, Allen, Goodwin, Okoro, Windler, Osman. Like that's like your 9-ish or so. Like that's pretty rough once you start looking at that bench unit.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't trust it enough. The other thing I wanted to shout out from this game is Isaac Okoro was absolutely incredible on the defensive end of the floor on Shea
He's so
Alexander at
good.
the end of this game. His energy level looked really good. He was incredibly physical. It is like I can the offensive limitations for him are still something we need to monitor and think about and consider. But holy shit, he did an amazing job on Shea down the stretch of this game. That is the value of him, and like that is why like I think it is very easy for me to be bullish on that dude because of what like the defensive
Mhm.
ability that he has. And then it's like, oh, you beat him off the dribble. Oh, you came around him off a pick. Not only is he probably gonna like maneuver around it correctly, but then you have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley waiting behind you to like swarm you with 7 feet of arms. Isaac
I
Okoro,
mean, Ryan Morton put it best when he said like Isaac Okoro just plays hard as shit, and like that's
yeah,
really endearing.
rocks.
Like it rocks. Like and he can, like I think people were just circling the wagons way too soon because like Lamar Stevens, like that's a pleasant surprise, but it's really good to see. Like you can, I don't care if his offense is going to take time, like you said. Like he needs to learn how to play without the ball in his hands. He needs to learn to play with off ball with other guards with the ball in their hands. But him with the ability just to completely fucking ruin Shea Alexander, an all-star caliber point guard's night is super incredible because he can just flip a switch and just completely eat somebody's lunch. And like I'm watching the possession in the closing moments where like Steve Jones put the clip with like Shea coming off Mobley and like Okoro just completely negated the play. Like that's incredible to me because he can just read the defense or offense so well.
Yeah, he just
He
incredible.
rules.
He
Like good pick.
I have a type, and that dude, the way he plays defense is just extremely a Chris Manning thing. But Evan, we're
Yeah.
gonna go to break. We're gonna
Chris likes defensive wings. Evan likes big point guards. We have types.
yeah, I have it's mine. My type is the anti Dan Waiters if we're keeping it 100. But Evan,
Fair.
after the break, we're gonna get into Cavs Nets, which will not feature Kevin Durant due to injury, but it's still kind of an interesting game as we look at this Cavs slate. But first, I'm gonna tell everyone about our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting freaking protein bar out there. You know this if you listen to the show, and hopefully you've tried them by now. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has like 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Check out a Built Bar. That's much healthier. It's covered in 100% chocolate. You still get that sweet tooth fix, and it's just frankly better for you. They have so many great flavors: coconut and almond, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, many more. Check out a mix box if you want to try them all. And they're always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check built.com. Often see what's new. If you are a returning buyer or a first time buyer, go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Go try them all.
I also have to give you a quick word from today's sponsor, BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you all a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games, do not, and I mean do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
That's freaking right. Okay, last segment, Cavs Nets. Cavs
I like the
last
freaking.
Yeah, look at that. Just a little edge there. Just a note, according to our friends at BetOnline, the Cavs are 3.5-point favorites against Brooklyn on Monday. The big thing that's probably tilting this and is a big thing to know about this game, No Kevin Durant for the Nets as he hurt his knee on Saturday and is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL injury. I believe Kyrie Irving is going to play. I believe James Harden's going to play. So like still two superstars for Brooklyn. I believe, again, as I know we noted this last week, but this is, I believe, the first time that Kyrie Irving will play in front of Cavs fans. He played in Cleveland last year in one of those games where Sexton went off, but there were no fans, obviously, because of the pandemic. The pandemic's still going on, but different stage of it. The last time Kyrie played in front of Cavs fans on an opposing team was the game that Gordon Hayward was injured, his first game as a regular season game as a Boston Celtic. So it's been a long time. It feels about like 50 years. Fascinated to see how that reaction will be. One of those things where I kind of wish I get to see in person. Alas, I'll be on a plane. Evan,
His arms be tired flapping in the air.
Yeah, we'll see if the snow. But look, Evan, Cavs Nets is this game, and I think the Chicago game coming up, because Chicago is probably going to be without Lonzo Ball, and I think Zach LaVine, although I haven't seen an update on his status as well. The Cavs are facing these teams that are good and are like above them in the standings, but they're getting them without some at full strength. And like the Cavs are also pretty good, but the Cavs could be in this position where, like, if they could pick up this win and perhaps beat the Bulls on Wednesday and beat the Nets on Monday, because the Nets don't have KD, who's been incredible this year. Like, that's like, if they can take advantage of some of these schedule advantages that are just presenting themselves, like playing who's in front of you and taking advantage of that, that's like not a bad thing for them. It's obviously not like, sometimes you want to beat teams with full strength. You want to like be able to say, oh, the Cavs like went toe to toe with Brooklyn and kind of have that gauge. But like, if you can pick up the win, you take the win. And like, there's an opportunity, I think, here on Monday to go do that.
Yeah, there absolutely is an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. I am really, really, really interested with Lamar Stevens being questionable. How JB, I like to talk about defense because this Cavs team is a defensive team, so I think it's just worth mentioning. I'm curious to see how they contain Harden and Irving in this one.
I think you almost
best
got to
of
go
luck.
I think the idea would just be, so Brooklyn would probably, let's see if Brooklyn hasn't played obviously since Saturday, because you wouldn't play 3 games in a row. So
Yeah.
let's just, like, if we're guessing, Kyrie and Harden start. I think you got to put Okoro on Harden, just because, like, I don't think you can like put like Markkanen on him, nor would I put Garland on him. I think Garland probably has to defend Kyrie. And like, so like they may, but if they start Patty Mills, like you have to, maybe Lowry has to defend one of those guys. Like it's not going to be like clean, like it's not going to be like a clean
I think
reality.
you have to just kind of try and slow down one of those two and then let the other one beat you. Like, that's just kind of where the Cavs are have to play this. Like, they could try and boat race the Nets, because that Colin Sexton game obviously ain't going to happen from Darius Garland. I just don't see that happening.
The Cavs are not boat racing teams up. That's not how they typically win games. I don't
Yeah,
think
they
they've had a
grind
game
it out, but like that game against the Colin Sexton game run with the overtime was just trading buckets in the fourth quarter, and Colin got super hot and just absolutely just went nuclear on Brooklyn at the right time. But obviously the Cavs aren't going to get that again. So I'm curious to see how they defend it. Like you said, like maybe you put Lowry on Patty Mills. Maybe you just kind of hope for the best. I would assume
if they start Bruce Brown, then like the problem solved for you. Like, cause you could just go like Kyrie, like Darius, just defend Kyrie. You have to make the most of it. Okoro defends hard, and then market and you stash on Bruce Brown, who kind of plays like a big anyway.
Yeah. So that's just kind of what you have to do. And then you try to just grind this Nets team down a little bit and slow them down. But like they're hot. They're a good team, them Brooklyn Nets. It'll be a good test. I have a feeling it's gonna kind of play out similarly to how Cleveland played Golden State, where it's like the Cavs kind of are in this till the end, and I think just the Cavs are going to get out talented. But I think there is a window of opportunity for Cleveland to win this one. I just am curious to see how they kind of defend the two main superstars at Brooklyn, one part-time and one permanent.
Yeah, I would expect lots of switching from the bigs just to kind of cover up potential cracks in the defense.
Frustrate them a little bit. Like,
I mean, it's just like the cleanest thing Cleveland has done all year with their defense a lot of the time is just, hey, like you're going to try to get Lowry Markkanen, like having to come over a screen. Okay, Evan Mobley's going to switch that. Jared Allen is going to switch that. Like that is ultimately like the solution a lot of the time for what Cleveland's going to do here. If Brooklyn gets hot, how the Cavs try to ramp up the offense will be interesting. I mean, we if Lamar Stevens doesn't play or is limited in some way, like this is one of those opportunities where like Dylan Windler can kind of stake a little claim here. Like his shooting could be kind of useful in this game. Like there's so many things. There's just so many little things that like on the edge of this that are just kind of worth watching as Cleveland kind of figures out what its rotation is. And again, I mean, I think for me, like the biggest thing, like Brooklyn is right now second in the East. They're half a game behind the Bulls, who they just beat. The Bulls are still first in the East at 27-14. The Nets are 27-15, so a game behind in the loss column. Like these are record-wise the two best teams in the East. It's the Cavs are six. They have the Cavs because of these wins over the weekend and because Charlotte lost over the weekend. The Cavs now have a 2.5 game edge over the Hornets, and they're 3 games up on the Raptors in terms of the play-in race. That's like obviously not a insurmountable cushion by any means, but like if you can beat these two teams ahead of you in the standings this week, and we're like literally talking play-in playoffs here. By the way, if the Cavs win one of these two games, and like if they win Monday, they beat their over. They've already will beat it if they win on Monday. That'll be their 27th win on the season. That's bonkers.
And then if people listen to our betting advice, they will lose money because of us.
Look, I think we said on that show it's not advice, and if they took our
that's
advice,
true.
just suckers on you. But like, look, this is a week where the Cavs can beat teams ahead of them in standings that aren't at full strength. I think that the chess match defensively is going to be fascinating. How much energy they have, frankly, will be fascinating because this isn't like a normal day off turnaround. This is like a day, and then you have like less time because it's like a midday game. Like it's not the grind is like real full here for Cleveland to kind of maybe look a little dead here. We'll see what Brooklyn looks like without KD and with kind of a Kyrie Harden kind of thing. It's just kind of interesting. There's so much intrigue in this, and I'm fascinated to see how this kind of goes. I have no real expectations other than like I think it should be fascinating. But man, looking at the East playoff picture. Bulls, Nets, Heat, and Bucks all within 2 games of each other right now. The 76ers are 2.5 games back in 5th, and the Cavs are 6 at 2.5 games back of the Bulls. This is really tightly contested right now.
No, it's super contested. Like there's going to be a lot of maneuvering, and these are, like you said, games that matter in the grand scheme of things. If Brooklyn doesn't want to be the 2nd seed, or if they want to be the 1st seed, and also it matters for Cleveland too. Like they are really positioning themselves to avoid this play-in tournament altogether. And it makes me intrigued to think like if the Cavs maintain this trajectory, I think they're on pace to win like 50-something games. So they maintain this trajectory they're at right now. What moves do they make with the deadline looming to kind of add further cushioning to this lead and this gap that they have so that they don't have to worry about the play-in tournament come like late March or so?
Yeah. I'm fascinated by this. It's gonna be an interesting week. Cavs get Cavs Nets on Monday. Like I haven't even looked past Wednesday. That's just how like goofy
they play Chicago on Wednesday,
and then they get the Thunder again on Saturday. Those 2 days off. Those 2 days off.
It'll help. The 2 days off will help a lot. I think it'll help Rondo. It's gonna help Stevens. Like this Cavs team. It's Monday, Wednesday, and then they're home. Then they're home against New York on Monday the following week, and then they're home against Milwaukee, which is going to be a tough one depending on who the Bucks have available. And then it kind of eases up a lot with like Detroit, New Orleans, who's a lot better, but then Houston, Charlotte, Indiana. Like that Charlotte game on February 4th is going to be very important.
Yeah, but maybe we'll have to get our buddy Doug Branson on to talk about what's going on with Charlotte ahead of them because it feels kind of standings wise important. But look, big week, big Monday for the Cavs. Evan, so for Tuesday's show, just to give you a tease of what's to come next, Evan will be on with Mac Robinson from 92.3. Mac will be filling in for me, doing the normal recap format on the show, and Mac will be pretty great because Mac's pretty great. So look for that tomorrow in your feeds. And look, if you want to, as we're wrapping up here, you want a great second listen, check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for your gambling needs. That's Locked On Bets. It's hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. And again, we are imploring you to go on YouTube, subscribe, help us get to 1,000 subscribers. We could do it today with a fraction of the people listening to the show. Help us get to 1,000. Evan, anything before we go?
No, not really. I'm actually really looking forward to Cavs Nets. I think this is another good game to really like get a clear indication of what the Cavs kind of need to do to hang with some of the bigger guns in the league. And it's going to be a fun week in general event like Chicago. Like that's 2 tough games back to back this week. And then this Oklahoma City game, like you and I talked about it, like they're playing better than what their record indicates, and the Cavs kind of saw that firsthand over the weekend. So this is going to be a fun week for Cleveland basketball. I'm excited to have Mac on. It's going to be a little bit of weird times. Chris and I are kind of ahead of schedule a little bit. We're going to have some good episodes this week and have a lot of fun. Just everyone stay safe, stay warm, and we'll talk soon.